Okay, hello and welcome to our extended disc mini webinar. This is part of our fall sales capacity team assessment suite, hereby known as SCA. The report we're going to be focusing on today is the team competency summary report. And as always with our mini webinars, we will be recording it. So if you joined us late or if you need to review it or share it later on, you'll be able to find it on our YouTube channel or on our extendeddisc.org webpage. Questions and answers. We love your questions and answers, and if we have time, we will get to them during the live session. If not, I promise you we'll follow up with you after the session is over. My name is Christina Bowser, and I'm the training director here at Extended Disc. And joining me today is my colleague, Markku Kaupinen, president of Extended Disc North America. Hi, Markku.
Hi, Christina. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
So let's go ahead and get started. We've talked about a lot of different reports, and one of the things people are very familiar with are the individual reports. But people aren't so familiar with the team reports. But you know, you and I have talked, and we talked about what a valuable piece of information this particular type of report is. So before we kind of share the report with people, let's talk a little bit about what is SCA, what does it mean, how does it relate to behavioral assessments. So you want to talk a little bit about that, Markku?
Yes, certainly. SCA, Sales Competency Assessment Suite, is a group of assessments, but the nice thing about the SCA is that individual has to complete the questionnaire only one time, and you're able to create all the different kind of assessment reports that you may want to have to use in different kind of applications. I believe there are 13 individual reports and 6 team reports. And the idea is, just like with our DISC assessments, that you can get the reports that you need at the right time. So obviously, since we are measuring competencies, it is not based on the DISC theory, and it has a different questionnaire. Good news is that if you're using extended DISC assessments and you're using SCA, they're all in the same Things platform, and there are ways to actually very seamlessly take the results from the DISC sales assessments, particularly the Sales 18 that we have talked about in our previous webinars, and many of you are using, how it seamlessly connect with the competencies, but it's not based on DISC theory, so it has a different questionnaire. Questionnaire has 99 questions, and it takes about 25 minutes to complete, but it's really designed specifically for people who are looking for sales positions, they're the candidates, or who are already in sales roles. And it really looks at where they are in terms of their competencies, and we're going to talk about the competencies from a team perspective today, but also look at things like their excuse index, which measures how likely a salesperson is to make excuses not to be selling. They are focusing on something else. And also what we call the sales mindsets, which really are self-defeating beliefs that will hold the success of a salesperson back.
So Markku, in this team report, there are 18 of those sales competencies that most of us are familiar with by this time. However, what I did, Markku, was I actually just selected 2 of them so that you can kind of talk a little bit about it. So let me just show you the first one. The first one is the competence we're focusing on is on prospecting. So this is, just to warn you, this is kind of the overall picture of this competence, and then I actually have another slide that narrows it down a little bit further. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about this one, how it shows up as a team competence.
Yeah, and if I'm gonna step one step back, and if you're thinking about when we are assessing individual sales candidates or existing salespeople, we are measuring 18 critical sales competencies that we have worked very thoroughly and over many years with our clients to really define what those competencies are, what we need to measure to help people succeed in sales careers. And individual reports, and you've seen this in our previous webinars, looks at very specifically where they are with these 18 competencies. And here we are looking at the prospecting competency. And if you think about the team report, it's really for the sales manager, the VP of sales, or the sales trainer or coach who wants to understand what are the development needs of their team and really understand where we are right now in terms of our competencies when it comes to our entire sales team. So here we are looking at one of those competencies, prospecting, that for many sales teams is a very important competency. And the reports were designed to be very intuitive. We use a very simple scale from 10% to 100%. 10% is really the lowest score you can get when it comes to any of these 18 competencies. And you can very quickly see how your sales team members rank on these scales. We have a couple of top performers when it comes to prospecting, like L. Meitner or R. Vega. They are there in what we call a top third quadrant, and not quadrant, that's not the right word, but in the top third of their team. And then we have a lot of people in the middle, and unfortunately we have quite a few sales professionals who fall quite low on the prospecting. Now, we always have to put the information in the context of what we need to be doing. If prospecting is not an important competency for your sales team members, I wouldn't be too worried about it. However, if it is important, and I look at the grouping of people there right in the 15% or below, I might be quite concerned. I need to put a plan together. How do we develop this team? What are the kind of training needs that we have in order to improve our prospecting competency? Or if it's not something I'm going to be very worried about.
Yeah, and it's just to kind of add on to what, just to kind of say what you may have already said, is that there are 18 competencies even in the team report. And just like with an individual, you don't need to, or you typically won't focus on all 18 areas. So that way you can zero in on the competencies that you need your sales team to focus on. And if you look here, as we kind of took the previous page and we zoomed into, as Markku had mentioned, M. Meitner, who was at the kind of the top of the scale for this particular competence. What's great about it is not only do you get that visual picture that, here's that one salesperson on my team that is very comfortable when it comes to prospecting, but it also describes how this person approaches prospecting. So I'm just going to read it very quickly. For someone like him or her that sits in that upper level, they thrives with prospecting and is constantly looking to maintain a healthy pipeline, generates leads, but does not or forgets to follow up unless prospects are ready to move forward right away. So not only does it tell you here's this salesperson at the top of the scale, but it describes their approach to prospecting, and the same goes for that kind of that cluster in the bottom half of your range for prospecting. Again, it gives you that description so that as a manager, I can make a decision to either focus on this prospecting score, and then you always have the ability to go and look at each of your individual salespeople based on their SCA development reports, to if you need to kind of focus to help them further develop their prospecting competences.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Christina. This gives you the big picture. You are the sales manager. Sometimes you may not have the time, or it may not be necessary to look all the detailed scores. Maybe there are some sales team members that you really want to drill down. Then you take in their individual report, and it provides, as we have seen in our previous webinars, very specific information about all of these 18 competencies. Like if I want to look at, I'm going to pick the last one, M-Born. Maybe I look at M-Born's individual report. It describes me what their prospecting actually looks like in practice. And then I, of course, can look into their sales mindsets, excuse index, and maybe even look at their hardwired sales behavior from their sales 18 that is based on the DISC model. So you have a lot of options where you want to start. And really the intent is that you can be very specific in developing these sales team members. You understand what the development needs are. Are we focusing more on behavioral modification, self-defeating beliefs, excuses, or is it simply more of a competency development so we can have very specific plan to improve their sales performance?
Right, and as you said early on, that this type of team report gives the sales team manager that overall picture. So, once they understand, hey, my team's they're scoring very in the higher range, we're going to keep on doing what we're doing. But if they're kind of bottoming out at the bottom range, I might ask myself as a whole, as a team, is it the processes? Is it something in terms of how I can better direct and manage this and support and develop this team? And then, as you mentioned, we can go into that deeper dive. Can we focus specifically on individuals? And what's great is if you decide to focus on the individual, that development plan that's in their report is laid out there for you. One more, I just wanted to have Marku take a look at one more competence, and this one is called controlling the sales process. So can you talk a little bit about this one, Marku?
Well, here's another one of the 18 competencies. And again, we are looking at the big picture, where the sales professionals in this team fall in this particular competency. And if this important, news is pretty good. We have a lot more competency in this area. And just like with the prospecting, you can very quickly refer to the right side of the page. You can see what that means in practice. And again, we can always drill down to their specific individual scores by simply accessing the individual assessment results. So you have a lot of options to really understand what the challenges are and what do we need to do differently going forward. Really, the idea with the SCA assessment suite is that there's a lot of options, but more importantly, that it is very intuitive. So the sales managers are not trying to figure out how to interpret the information. The focus really is to take this information, clearly understand it, and then make very clear decisions about what do we need to do differently. So the focus is ultimately always, how do we help our clients to improve their sales performance?
Yeah, and oftentimes the feedback that we get about these team reports is they love the options. So what we're presenting to you today is just simply one of the team reports that is available to you. And there are many other ways. So you can use, as Marku said, it's one assessment. Once your salespeople take the assessment, you can generate individual reports as well as team reports, and you can choose the team reports that are most beneficial to you at this point in time. You could focus on, job roles the next day, but today, in this report, we're just simply showing you the competencies for the team. I did just have a very quick slide. I just wanted to narrow it down so you could see the top and bottom. Your L. Meitner is showing up at the very top again. So maybe this person could be your rock star of this group. Again, just very clear definitions of what it means to be in that top ranking for this particular competence, also in the middle, which I did not include in the slide, and then also at the bottom. So for someone with this type of high competence, they're always going to set a clear agenda, time restraints and expected outcomes for every meeting, regardless of the stage in the process. They may help me with this word, intimidate some prospects who are not accustomed to having a clearly defined step with salespeople. So, again, it's a very clear definition. It helps you to very intuitively understand what it means to be ranked at this particular level, and throughout all the other levels. So any other ideas or thoughts about using the team competence summary or any of the team reports at this point, Marku?
Well, the only thing I would say is that this is what I keep hearing daily from our clients who are using the SCA assessments, is that it's really intuitive. It's easy to understand. We don't get clients calling us, help me understand what this means. The focus is always, what are we going to do with this information? Now we can make better decisions. So that was our intent when we developed this product, and it makes me so happy to hear that it's working that way. And if you are a sales manager, if you're a sales trainer, you need to help somebody or you need to help your team to improve, just give it a try, because once you're trying it, people really begin to understand the value of the information. Just give it a try, contact us, and we'll show you. Maybe it's a sample report, maybe we'll take your sales team, do a demo, so you can understand what it does, and then you can decide whether it may or may not be a fit for you. And last thing is, again, it's designed that you have a lot of options to choose the information you need this report may not be the most relevant for you at this time. It may be down the road, but there's a lot of other options that I think are very timely.
Right, and as a sales consultant, as a sales coach, you still play a very pivotal role. It almost is your coaching guide, right? I mean, it helps you lay it out there. It has the development plans for you. It gives you very clear pictures so that you as a consultant, you don't have to spend a lot of time figuring it out. It's figured out for you, and then you can actually work and focus on that development phase.
Well said.
Yeah. So hopefully that gives you a very quick introduction to the Team Competence Summary Report. We will have another webinar tomorrow on the My Self Study Workbook. It's another very brand new tool that has taken off. So Marco and I are going to share a little overview of that. Next week, we're going to focus on a different report in the SCA series, and that will be the Sales Theory Report. Marku and I will have to go brush up on our sales theory, but we'll present to you an awesome webinar for that.
Well, actually, you know, it's sales theory, but it's very practical. So it's going to be a great webinar. So we look forward to having you there. And go to extendedthis.org, go to the top right corner, you see the events tab, click on there and you will see all of our upcoming webinars. And as I always said, even when you can't make the date or time, make sure you register because we will send you the recording after the webinar. So go there and register. If you have any questions, our contact information is there. And I think with that, I think it's a wrap.
All right. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.